Hey there, it's John Barrett, and welcome to my review of Obi-Wan Kenobi parts 4 and 5. So just so you know, last week I didn't do my review of part 4, and that's because I was in a heat wave, and I had to have my air on all the time, otherwise it was not going to be bearable. And you don't want my air conditioner? Yeah. Don't even bother trying to filter the audio out for that, it's just too loud. But anyhow, we got a cool day, so perfect time to record before we get hit with another heat wave. So you're going to see probably a week with no videos and a week jam-packed of videos in the future if this keeps up. But anyhow, so in today's review, I am going to be reviewing parts 4 and 5. So let's just begin with part 4, and well, we got Obi-Wan Kenobi breaking into the Fortress Inquisitorius in order to rescue Leia. And I got to say, as a person who's played Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, in fact, I should have my live stream somewhere on this channel, so go find that out if you are so interested. I'm planning on actually restreaming it someday, probably when the weather cools down a bit. But yeah, it was neat to see another attempt in breaking in, and actually both were successful, but in different ways. And doing this over a week later, I actually do have the ability to respond to some people's criticisms. Why Cal didn't need somebody on the inside, for example, because they beefed up security after Cal. Simple. I mean, simple. And maybe after Cal, they're taking water damage a lot more seriously now. When the second brother said the base was nearly destroyed, and Obi-Wan Kenobi went, not quite. Well, he's trying to get Reaver in trouble, first of all, let's remember that. And two, they know how bad Cal had damaged it before, so they're not taking any chances this time. There you go. Rationale solved. And another thing, too, people criticize is how easy it was for Obi-Wan and Leia to sneak through all the officers, like right behind the fifth brother, right? Not second brother. I want the Inquisitors and Imperials, but that is the point. They're so caught up, the Inquisitors are so caught up in their internal rivalry, they just miss the Jedi sneaking out behind them. And as for all the other Stormtroopers and Imperials, why would they kill? They live on a cushy base as is, and let's be real. The Empire is a corrupt organization, not just morally, corrupt, run by basically the space devil, Palpatine, but the thing is that the Empire just is a corrupting force. Earlier in the episode, Talia was able to bluff her way past security because she outranked the security officer and she threw her weight around. And I know a little bit about what people have said happens in the U.S. military. Well, if an officer who's not from not in your chain of command comes up and orders something, you generally don't have to follow the orders. That's probably not the case in the Empire. Someone has a higher rank with them and bossing them around. They maybe say, I need to check with my higher-ups, but if they boss you around enough, all the Imperials, they just fold because they're afraid of getting in trouble. So, the Empire is run by fear, and we're seeing this fear among the Empire actually being a security flaw that can be exploited by any rebel who has enough confidence to just boast their way through. And having confidence can be a good way of getting past security in the Empire, because if you're confident, that shows you have nothing to fear, and that makes the other guy even more afraid. How powerful this person is that they don't feel retaliation. Just something to note, the examination of Imperial culture. And then, of course, Reaver apparently did have a backup plan, and that was basically putting a restraining bolt on Leia's droid so it could track them, which does, and that comes into next episode. That's actually when we find out it was a restraining bolt that did the tracking. But the way I look at it is that she did that as a contingency. That was not her plan. She pretended it was her plan because she's afraid of Vader, but that wasn't her plan. And that's showing how, as we find out in the next episode, she's still that young Padawan who barely survived Order 66, survived through her anger and her rage and desire for revenge. And that gets us into the next episode. So the Empire goes, they're getting ready to capture Obi-Wan Kenobi, and of course Reaver's going to commit the same crimes that she was a victim to. And she's in the dark side for this, She's lashing out. She survived a stab wound during Order 66, given by Vader. That's how she knows Vader was Anakin. She's able to survive that through pure rage. I mean, the Grand Inquisitor probably survived in a similar way. Though he seems the most common collected dark side user ever, except for maybe Count Dooku. But maybe he's just good at hiding it. Who knows? But she survives on pure rage, just like Vader, just like Maul. And like Maul, her anger is directed at somebody. Vader's anger, some of it is directed at Kenobi, but especially we find out with other material that a lot of it is directed at himself. But speaking of who Reva's mad at, like, probably she has some anger and rage towards Kenobi, like, where were you when your former apprentice was killing all of us? Well, I think granted, he didn't say I was ending the Clone Wars, or I was getting shot at by my own clones. He didn't say that, he didn't say anything. But that's because he took a calculated risk. He knew that Reva had more anger toward Vader, so that way, if he said just the right things, he could get Reva to turn on Vader, which she does. Vader saw it coming, disarmed her, and I gotta say, that Vader scene where he's marching through, getting ready for Kenobi, sees the transport, and just pulls it down and rips it apart, and then all that. That was so great. Sure, he was conned by them because there was a second transport, which he totally ignored, that allowed him to get away. But that's important, showing that he was blinded by his rage. His rage and anger and desire for revenge on Kenobi blinded him to the entire tactical situation around him. Though he was not able to be fully fooled by Reva, disarmed Reva and all that, and stabbed her again, and we find out the Grand Inquisitor did survive. They have even promoted Reva to Grand Inquisitor for this episode too, but that was more of, I have a feeling Vader and the Grand Inquisitor, and Grand Inquisitor was on the Star Destroyer when that happened too, so he was fully in on Vader's plan for this. They probably expected Reva to to turn on Vader, I have a feeling. But going back to Vader being so blind by his rage, he didn't see the second transporter, it was too late. Well, that does maybe parallel a little bit in TROS, but I'm more want to bring up all the flashback scenes to basically a training sequence, a training duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan just prior to the Clone Wars. So this is just after the Clone Wars started, just before. So it's pretty close in time to episode 2, practically part of it, I would say. Maybe a bit afterwards, I would say. I don't remember about Anakin's hand, if it was the robotic hand or not. I don't remember getting a good look. But the thing is that it's showing Vader had the same issues he had as Anakin. He was so focused on winning, he didn't pay attention to the great tactical situation, and both times that allowed Kenobi to win. No, Kenobi was able to look at other options, non-violent options, options that didn't involve brute strength. Vader, Anakin, couldn't. He had the same flaws he had as a Jedi apprentice, Jedi Padawan. And so that actually does nicely connect to the line in A New Hope, when Vader tells Ben Kenobi, Obi-Wan Kenobi, oh Ben, that when he had left him, he was just, you know, now he is a master, because he thinks he has finally overcome that. And we gotta say, New Hope and the rest of the original trilogy of Vader is a lot more calmer, a lot more, for lack of a better term, tactical, more patient even. And maybe he did learn something between this series and the films. Hard to say. But it's just a nice little development though that I really am glad that they did take a time to show us. And those flashback sequences were very important in establishing that for Vader. Now, one kind of side note, I wish they had maybe done a little better de-aging for Hayden Christensen. I don't know how much they would have. They did it perfect for Obi-Wan. I don't even know if they had to do anything. Maybe a little bit with hair dye. And maybe some makeup, but that's it. Hayden Christensen, maybe they needed to do a little more. So maybe a bit more makeup and maybe some hair dye, because it doesn't look like they make his hair seem younger. The small thing they could have done, like, might have helped it, but I mean, I saw like, oh well, and just moved on. It's literally no big deal. The outfit, the situation tells us what we need to know about that time frame. And you know, maybe Anakin had a big growth spurt right after the Battle of Geonosis. Who knows? It really doesn't matter because that's a minor critique I have. Not a huge one, but I did want to address it. So that concludes my review for Obi-Wan Kenobi Parts 4 and 5. If you enjoyed the review, please be sure to like, upvote, and share it all across the platforms. Also, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below, what did you think of these 2 episodes? And what are you hoping for the final part? This is what I'm hoping for. Is a true final duel between Vader and Kenobi before A New Hope. So, they both get away, of course, they have to. But truly, because the last one wasn't really a duel per se, because Kenobi wasn't back to himself. Now he will be back to himself by episode 6. So I think Obi-Wan's forced into a duel with Anakin. Simple as that. Or even Reva, because she may or may not be alive, and I'm not going to talk about that too much because I'm not quite sure how that's going to play about, and I don't want to speculate on that because I really want to be surprised on that. But Vader and Kenobi, I do want another duel between them. A duel where Kenobi is finally in the right mindset, that he's back to his Jedi ways. That is what I want to see. And Vader, he's still in his same old mindset, and that's important because this show is about Kenobi, not about Vader. Sure, his relationship with Vader and Anakin, but it's mainly about Kenobi and having him from a storytelling perspective, fight Vader once again in the story and come out on top. Even if he doesn't necessarily win the duel, but he comes out on top rather than just escaping by the seat of his pants. That will show that he's overcome, not necessarily overcome with his trauma, but has finally dealt with it and learned to live with it. And as a part of that, I hope we get confirmation that he's now able to talk to Qui-Gon Jinn through the Force. Even if it's not necessarily Qui-Gon manifesting before him, but at least them having a conversation. That is what I want from episode 6. So I'll leave you guys with that, so thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and share and all that if you haven't done so already. And as always, thank you for watching and have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you always.